Hey guys and gals, Xavier here for Hum of the Earth, signing in from an undisclosed location in Eastern Africa. And today we'll be talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart: beer. So if you've been following my channel for a while, you might remember me doing beer related videos in Latin America, but I haven't really felt inspired to do one so far in Africa. I've been to South Africa, Lesotho, Eswatini, Zimbabwe, and I've just finished cycling through Malawi. And I decided to do a beer video for Malawi because of a few factors, and one is the interesting history of the beer in Malawi. So prior to 1968, most of the beer in Malawi that people would drink was kind of a home brew, which is a kind of either maize or sorghum beer, which is usually used with malted sorghum or maize and millet. So I went into town looking for a beer, but it was Sunday, so all the bottle stores were closed. But then I see this congregation of gentlemen seemingly having a good time, and I got myself some pretty good. Really similar to the Basotho beer that I drank in Lesotho, which is in South Africa. It's a pretty sour drink with loads of sediment, which the first time drinking it definitely throws you off a little bit because it's not what you're expecting, but get used to it. I actually like it now. I think it's quite strong too, which I don't mind. And this type of beer is still sold in Malawi as well as in Zimbabwe. Either again as a home brew, but it can also, there's also a commercial version of it called chibuku. So if you were going to a grocery store, which there aren't that many of in Malawi, you might be getting the kind of fancier disposable bottle version of it, which can come in different flavors, such as chocolate and tropical fruit, etc. Chibuku Super Choco Premium Traditional Beer, chocolate flavored, not bad. Or if you're getting it from a bar, which is probably the most common place where you can get it, and also the best value typically, this is what the container would look like. But if that doesn't sound like your jam, worry not, because in 1966, the Danish foreign minister came to Malawi, and the quote-unquote local beers that I just talked about were not really his jam either. He was pretty displeased with it, and thus created an agreement with Carlsberg, which is a big, originally Danish-based beer company, to fix, quote-unquote, the situation in Malawi. And the result being Carlsberg's first brewery outside of Denmark. And the result of that is pretty good. I believe the first beer they created was the Green, which is a really simple name just based off of the label of the beer. Give a guy a green, but give a man two. Smooth, but with a unique taste. It has a kind of unique taste. It's also very refreshing, so it kind of hits the sweet spot there between drinkability and taste. And it is 4.7%. So also brewed by Carlsberg, and I believe the main brewery is just out in Blantyre, so you can actually visit it if you're in Blantyre. The other probably most popular brew is called the Special Brew. So this one, not quite as unique. It's a little bit heavier beer, kind of a dark brown beer, a bit more sweet and sugary, which is normal considering that it is 5.7% alcohol, making it probably, after the Chikubu, the local beer, probably the best value for the beers. So in Malawi, you don't have the bigger options of 500 milliliter or 750 milliliter, even liter bottles of beer. It's the really kind of traditional 330 milliliter bottles, and they're usually priced for the two that I just mentioned from 600 to 700 kwacha typically, which is just a little bit less than $1 per beer. US dollar at the time I was there was 750 kwacha. So not the greatest value for beer in a developing country, but pretty good product, so no complaints. So Carlsberg does have a kind of light beer, which I believe is 4.2 or 3%, called the Carlsberg Chill. This one I had a few times. Not the biggest fan of it. It's not bad or anything. If it's really hot outside and you're kind of thirsty, this can be a good option. It's a little bit sweet, and yeah, it's fine. My one qualm with it is that it's more expensive, and because it's kind of packaged as being a premium beer in a green bottle, sometimes in bars, if you don't ask how much it is before, they can charge you as much as like 1,300 or 1,500 kwacha, so like $2, so like basically twice the price of a Carlsberg Green, which I feel is a better beer and also a refreshing one. So didn't have too many Carlsberg Chills. So there is another beer that Carlsberg makes, And this one is the Kushe, which means, I think it meant in their native language, something along the lines of "until dawn." I believe the beer is 4%, so it's kind of like meant to be like for, you know, extended sessions of drinking. At least that's how it's marketed. But I never actually got to try Kushe. I would see it advertised along with Carlsberg Green and Carlsberg Special in bars and stores and stuff like that, but I never actually once saw a bottle of it, which was kind of odd. I do know that it is priced a little bit cheaper than the Carlsberg Green and Special, so maybe that's why it's just constantly out of stock. Maybe people are just always snatching it up the second it goes on sale. Not sure, but unfortunately I never got to try it. But it does, from what I've heard talking to people, just sound like a typical kind of light beer. So yeah, can't comment too much further on that. And finally, there is Castel, not to be confused with Castle, which is a very common beer throughout Southern Africa, which you can also buy here, but that's, yeah, kind of a typical beer that I'm not going to talk about too much. Now Castel, also not the most original beer ever, but it is pretty good. 5%. It's really, yeah, kind of your typical beer. If you had to imagine just going to a country that only sold one beer and the label just said beer and you bought it, this is probably what you would imagine it tasting like. But the interesting part about Castel is the newest beer in Malawi, because the larger company, a French company, Castel, actually came in and purchased Carlsberg in Malawi. And that is why that beer is being offered. And it is actually typically cheaper than the Carlsberg. So it's usually like 400 or 500 kwacha, which is a decent value. Yeah, so I think that's going to do it for beer in Malawi. Overall, I think it's a pretty good country. Pleasantly surprised for the quality of beer. It was a nice change from the typical Castle, Black Label, and Castle Light that you find in Southern Africa throughout. Pricing was not great, I think mostly because the beer again is only offered in 330 milliliter bottles. These for the beers that aren't the quote-unquote local beer. So not the greatest value, but pretty quality stuff. It's definitely good enough to get you by for your time in Malawi. And if you're interested in traveling to, or just interested in Malawi as a country in general, on this channel I have quite a few other videos about Malawi. A few called Journey Through Southern Malawi, Journey Through Central, and then Journey Through Northern Malawi, which document my adventures bicycling through the country. I also have some videos of the various cities, Blantyre, Lilongwe, and Masuzu. So the 3 cities in Malawi. And yeah, some pretty cool stuff. It's a pretty cool country, so check out those videos if you like. They're available on this channel. you can go to my channel page, click on playlists, and select Malawi. And yeah, enjoy yourself. And if you're on that page, you'll notice that there's quite a few other countries there. And that is because I was in Malawi as part of my journey bicycling through Africa, going from Cape Town, South Africa, all the way to Cairo, Egypt. And before that, I bicycled from Canada, where I'm from, all the way to southern Patagonia in Argentina. And all of those videos are available on this very same YouTube channel, Hum of the Earth. And if you'd like to see an interactive map of everywhere that I went and everything that I got to see and do, that is available over on my website, followthehumoftheearth.com, where you can click on the different locations and see the various blog posts and videos I've made of these places. And if you'd like to follow my continuing adventures bicycling through Africa, you can do so by clicking on the red subscribe button below the video and clicking on the bell to be notified when new videos come out. Alright, that's gonna do it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good one.